Now we're going to use Venn diagrams as sort of a kind of a model similar to geometric probability. And it's similar in the sense that you kind of you can see the things that overlap, how big things are, but it doesn't really mean, for example, this geometry circle. There are clearly more students in here, more sophomores over here than in the Algebra 2 circle. It's just showing you the values in it so you can kind of group them and separate them. So it shows actual values, and you will see Venn diagrams that have probabilities instead. So let's go ahead and use a Venn diagram. So we're going to look at how do you pull the numbers out. Well, this intersection is the and part. That's where they overlap. So the number of sophomores in geometry and algebra 2 is simply 23. If I'm looking for the number of sophomores in geometry, I have to include the 23 and add the 452. A Venn diagram separates out the overlap, so you know exactly how many do overlap. So in geometry, I have 452 plus 23, or 485 sophomores. In algebra 2, I also add the overlap, 154 plus 23, which gives me 177. And then geometry or algebra 2. In this case, I don't want to double count that 23 because those 23 students are in geometry and algebra 2 at the same time. It's not like I have two sets of 23 students. So I'm going to add the three numbers together, and that gives me 629. And finally, I want to know how many sophomores do I have altogether, and I add in. I can just take that 629 and add the 47 that's outside of the group. So there's 676 sophomores in geometry. There's 676 total sophomores in Cedar Ridge. And so now I'm going to use this to calculate the probability to the nearest thousand that a sophomore is in geometry. Well, I need to use the combined number, 485, over the total, which is 676. Rounding to the nearest thousandth, I get 717 thousandths, or 0.717. Now I'm going to use this calculate for algebra 2. Algebra 2, I have 177 over 676, or 262 thousandths, or 0.262. For geometry and algebra 2, that's that very small number. Notice how the and part is actually our smallest probability. So that will be 23 over 676. See how I have that intersection or and symbol there? And when I put that in the calculator, I get 0.034. Finally, we're going to figure out the probability that the sophomores in geometry or algebra 2. So this is going to be our biggest one because that's our largest group. And that's the 629 over 676, or 0.930. And since I said the thousandths, even though that rounds to a 0, I put a 0. I always show a digit for the place value I say. So, and if I just use this as a percent, you can see 93% of the students of sophomores are in geometry or in algebra 2. So to reflect further, how are Venn diagrams similar to the models in geometric probability? And then what strategies do you use with the Venn diagram for AND problems? And how do you use it for OR problems?